What if the most visited church in the world was built on top of an unresolved question? Not a rumor, not a legend. A specific debated claim that has never been fully proven and has never been fully disproven. A claim that Constantine the Great believed enough to move a hill for. A claim that 12 popes have literally been buried on top of. A claim that Bernini built a 95-foot bronze canopy to honor. A claim that has stood at the center of the largest religion on earth for 2,000 years. The claim is this: the bones of Simon Peter, the fisherman Jesus called the Rock, are buried directly beneath the high altar of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Not nearby, not in the general vicinity, directly beneath, right there, under the altar, under the canopy, under the dome, under the prayers of 200 million pilgrims who have knelt in that spot across 20 centuries. But here is the question historians and archaeologists have grappled with for generations. How do we know? Has anyone actually looked? In 1939, for the first time in history, someone did. And what they found in the darkness beneath that altar will stay with you long after this video ends. Before we go underground, you need to understand one thing. Constantine the Great did not build his great church on flat land. He built it on the side of a hill, on top of a cemetery. He forced engineers to terrace a slope, bury the tombs already there, and pour a massive platform, all to put a church on that particular spot. Why? Why fight the hill? Because Constantine was building around something he did not want to move. The earliest evidence comes from a Roman priest named Gaius. Around AD 200, 140 years after Peter's death, Gaius was in a debate about which city had the stronger apostolic claim. And he said, "If you want proof, I can show you the trophy of Peter on the Vatican Hill." The historian Eusebius quotes him directly. Gaius had no reason to invent it. He was citing a source a century older than himself. Trophy, in early Christian usage, meant a monument over a grave. So when Constantine arrived, there was already a memorial on that hill that Christians treated as Peter's grave. Constantine made it the center of his basilica. He made the tomb, if it was a tomb, the altar. 14 centuries rolled past. The basilica fell and was rebuilt. The floor rose higher and higher. The original monument disappeared under marble and history. Until 1939. Until the pickaxe. Until the hole in the wall. Pope Pius XII ordered the excavation. He had been elected in March of that year. By September, Germany had invaded Poland. Pius XII was navigating the most dangerous political moment in modern history, and in the middle of a world war, he gave a quiet order to dig. He assigned the project to 4 archaeologists led by a Jesuit priest named Antonio Ferrua. The team worked under strict confidentiality protocols. For 11 years, the excavation proceeded with limited public disclosure. What they found beneath the basilica was an entire Roman necropolis. Street after street of mausoleums, sealed and preserved under Constantine's fill. Pagan families with their household gods, senators with painted ceilings, families whose names you can still read, the Valerii, the Julii, the Caetani. People who died before Christianity was legal, who never imagined a church would be built on top of them. And through the center of that neighborhood ran an open corridor, a gap that the other tombs all avoided. At the end of it, the trophy of Gaius, still standing, exactly where Gaius said it would be. Here is what researchers point to as significant. The trophy was not built in Constantine's time. The masonry dates to around AD 160. Someone built a formal memorial there, while people who knew Peter personally may still have been alive. Beneath the small niche, Ferrua found a burial slot cut into the bedrock. It was empty. And this is where the story becomes remarkable. You need to know who Peter was before we go further. He was not a theologian, not an orator. He was a fisherman from Bethsaida, a working-class town on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee. His original name was Simon. Jesus renamed him Petros, the rock. In Aramaic, the word was Kepha, and when Jesus said in Matthew 16, "On this rock I will build my church," he was saying it to a man who would deny 3 times that he even knew him. That is Peter, the one who sinks in the water, the one who weeps bitterly in the dark after the rooster crows, the most human of the apostles. But he is also the one who chose, in the end, to die rather than walk away. The Roman historian Tacitus, writing around AD 116, describes Nero's mass executions of Christians after the Great Fire of Rome in AD 64, in the Vatican district across the Tiber, in a garden where Nero held public spectacles. According to Origen and Eusebius, Peter was crucified there. He asked to be crucified upside down. He did not consider himself worthy to die the same way as his Lord. Martyrs. In Greek, that word originally meant witness, someone who testifies to what they have seen. The early Christians gave it a new meaning. A martyr was someone whose testimony cost them their life. Peter had seen. He testified. It cost him everything. Now his bones, or what might be his bones, were somewhere beneath the excavator's feet. The bones were in a box, a repository built into the wall behind the trophy of Gaius. Pharaoh's team found it, fragments of bone wrapped in deteriorated purple-gold cloth. They noted it. They moved on. The bones sat untouched for 15 years. Here is a chapter of this story that is less widely known. In 1952, a woman named Margherita Guarducci heard about the excavation. She had not been part of the original team. She was an epigrapher, a specialist in ancient inscriptions, who had spent her career reading graffiti on old walls. When she got access to the red wall beneath the Basilica, she found something the original team had not recorded. The wall was covered in scratched messages, names, symbols. Most had been logged as random scrawls. Guarducci spent years reading them. She found names invoking Peter. She found the Greek monogram of Christ. In one section she read the words, Petros eni, Peter is here. And when she looked more carefully at the repository, she found that the bones had been moved. Early in the excavation, someone had transferred them to Vatican storage without recording it thoroughly. Guarducci pushed for scientific analysis. The results: the bones belonged to a single individual, a robust male, aged between 60 and 70 at death. No feet, an absence some researchers have connected to crucifixion practices, when feet were sometimes removed as the body was taken down. The cloth was of a quality consistent with someone of high status. In 1968, Pope Paul VI made a formal announcement. He stated that the relics of St. Peter had, in his judgment, been identified. He did not say proven. He said identified. That word was deliberate. Because here is what the science alone cannot resolve. Science can tell you the bones belong to an elderly male who died in the 1st century. Science can tell you the bones were treated with extraordinary reverence and placed beneath the oldest known memorial to Peter in the world. Science can tell you the evidence is consistent with the tradition. What science cannot do is attach a name to a skeleton. There is no DNA database for 1st century Galilean fishermen. There is no signed document. What exists is a tradition, stretching back without interruption to within living memory of the man himself, that says, he is here, beneath this hill, beneath this altar, beneath 2,000 years of prayer. Scholars remain divided on what that continuity of tradition means, and how much weight it should carry alongside the physical evidence. Consider what the effort alone suggests. Constantine moved a hill. Every Renaissance architect who rebuilt the Basilica worked around the same axis. Bernini's bronze canopy, 95 feet tall, stands directly over the trophy. Every pope since the 4th century has said Mass over that spot. And in the necropolis below, the pagan families with their fine marble tombs left a gap in the middle of their neighborhood, an empty corridor pointing at what Christians believed to be a fisherman's grave. They built right up to the edge and no further. Why? Did they know what the Christians believed about that spot? Researchers have debated this question without reaching a consensus. But the gap is real. You can walk it yourself. Vatican tours of the Scavi are open to the public. You can stand at the red wall and see the niche with your own eyes. Peter was a man who was given every chance to walk away, who said by a fire in the dark, "I do not know this man," 3 times, and wept, and then got up. He spent the rest of his life saying the opposite. "I know him. I have seen him. I am a witness." And when they came for him at last on a hill across the Tiber, he asked only to die differently than his Lord. Martyrs. There is, according to a tradition supported by archaeology and continuous historical record, a fisherman buried somewhere beneath that altar. What that means, historically, spiritually, personally, is a question the evidence invites, but does not answer for you. If this story opened something in you, subscribe. The ground beneath the ancient world is full of things that change everything. We have barely started digging.